Now, in a rather progressive judgment, the Kerala High Court recently upheld that the children of unwed women and sexual assault survivors can live in this country with the fundamental rights of privacy, liberty, and dignity. That observation was made while hearing a petition filed by a man, the son of a single mother, who is an unwed woman, seeking to remove his father's name from the birth register and issue a fresh birth certificate showing only the mother's name as a single parent. The judge in the order said that a child of an unwed mother is also a citizen of this country and nobody can infringe any of his or her fundamental rights guaranteed under the Constitution. So that's the judgment coming out of the Kerala High Court, which has allowed a person to include his mother's name alone in the birth certificate, identity certificates, and other documents. Now, joining us to discuss the ramifications of this judgment is Brinda Adige, an activist, also Pawan Shyam, an advocate, also joining us. Pawan, to you first. It's a landmark judgment of sorts and goes a long way in saying that a person's identity need not necessarily be determined by his or her father.
It is a landmark judgment, but this is not a rare case or an unusual case where, the high courts have refused fathers' names to be deleted. Now, there have been many cases where rape victims, the children of rape victims, the children of divorced parents can get their father's name deleted. There have been instances, many instances, if I may say, but this is an unusual case because the Honorable High Court of Kerala has specifically stated that this is their constitutional right. They stated this is their constitutional right to have the father's name not be included, especially in case where the child is born out of a single mother who's unwed mother, or if it's a rape victim, and more progressively, the central government has been passing guidelines and circulars in this regard, specifically stating that the children who are born to biological parents, if they are adopted by two other parents, they can also have their names changed in the birth certificate. It's not necessary that the biological father's name do come into the birth certificate. It's not necessary anymore.
Yes. Right. Brinda Adige, should such an issue have gone to a court in the first place? Isn't it a given?
Absolutely right. This issue should not have gone to the court. We know that having surnames, having initials, or placing so much of premium and surnames is a patriarchal norm. And that norm has been broken several times in the past. And the court has come forward, like your previous panelist mentioned, and said that the child's surname vis-a-vis the father's name is not required. The child can decide, or even before that, the mother can decide that she does not want to have the man's name over there. For this matter to have gone to court just goes to show that irrespective of how laws get framed, progressive judgments get made, the patriarchal mindsets of our communities, families, and societies seem to just get reiterated into the same chauvinism. But thank God, anyway, we've got the Kerala High Court now reiterating that one does not need to have that name there if that person chooses not to have. I think it is time for all other institutions, especially educational institutions, not to insist that have a father's name. You don't want to have the father's name, so be it. You don't want it, you don't have it. This child is an entity by himself or herself and must be regarded and respected in that manner. A citizen of this nation and nothing less.
Exactly. Brinda Adige talking about the mindset. So Pawan Shyam, this in a sense also calls for a change in mindset, isn't it? This practice of having father's name in every document, in application that you put forth, this mindset needs to change.
Yes. This is an issue only of the mindset. This is not an issue of the law. The Registration of Births and Deaths Act prescribes for the requirement of a birth certificate. But nowhere in the Act or in the forms thereunder is there a requirement that father's name has to be compulsorily filed. Or there is no requirement, there is no restriction to change the father's name or to alter the father's name. Everything is subject to, the special facts and circumstance of the child. So it's just the mindset, because the law is always in favor of the child or in favor of the interests of the mother who's taking care of the child. So, and moreover, this is not something that should affect the child after all, for not having for having wrongly entered a father's name, because these are documents that will be used for the lifetime of the child. So such documents or such mindsets cannot be meant to affect those children. So it's very rightly, you can say that it's only the mindset of the society that's concerned, not the law. Law is always in favor of the child and the concerned parent.
Brinda Adige, the court also cites Mahabharata in the order. The court says that we want a society with no such characters like Karna, who curses his life because of the insult he faced for not knowing the whereabouts of his parents. We want the real brave Karna, who was the real hero and fighter in Mahabharata. Now, I want to understand from you, what kind of discrimination and ridicule do the children of single parents face practically on the ground?
First and foremost, I don't even know why the court had to take the help of Karna's name to reiterate what it has already thought not to be there. That's set apart. We know that this patriarchal norms and mindsets, this chauvinistic mindset, puts a lot of trauma and pressure on young children. If you look at all our movies, our television serials, the only thing that keep reiterating again and again by these people is, who is your father? Don't you know your father's name? So if you don't know your father's name, the direct insult is to your mother and her character. So that appropriation that these people and these movies and TV serials have put a lot of trauma, a lot of humiliation and insult on children. And that is what the censor boards must also look at. No more of these dialogues to be allowed over there. Forget Karna. Karna is a long time gone, but what are we looking at in the present age? Why hasn't the court looked up and made a statement to that effect? Because even today, we have all of these stories and scripts that keep reiterating that a child's importance is there only when there is the name of the father. That today, by this law and by this judgment and all the other judgments in the past, has shattered, saying you do not need the father's name. And that is what censor boards must talk about, saying your father's name is irrespective, not required, just not required. It's a non-entity altogether. And that is what we as societies must also continue to talk.
Brinda Adige and Pawan Shyam, I want to end by asking you what needs to change. Brinda Adige, I'll take your comment on your view on that first. You talked about movies and TV serials. Now, some would argue that movies and TV serials mirror the society rather than the other way around. So what needs to change in the society? You spoke about right at the beginning about the education. We should begin right from there. So tell us, like, top 3 things. What needs to change to break this patriarchal mindset of this emphasis on surname always?
First and foremost, it is our leadership and it is also our education. We need to continuously reiterate that this human being, this person, irrespective of whether having a father's name or not, is immaterial. So education must be given that importance, and we need to also have our systems that will not reiterate asking what is your father's name, because even today we have several forms that keep asking for that name, and then they also say that it is incomplete when a form goes up without that name. So that also is a technological glitch probably, which must be corrected. Which must be absolutely corrected. But education is important. Leadership needs to talk in this language. Leadership, whether we are talking of political leadership, social leadership, or religious leadership, they must talk this language of the importance of this human being as a person, the citizen of this nation, irrespective of him choosing to have the father's name or not have the father's name, being immaterial. And that is the most important aspect, that this individual is the most important person under the constitution, under my dharma, and nothing else matters.
Yes, Pawan Shyam, what do you think needs to change in the society? So the judgment is one thing, but practical difficulties, as Brinda Adige is pointing out, you go to any government office, you fill a form, you go to a school, a college, you fill a form, your father's name is required, otherwise the form is incomplete. You fear rejection of that form, your application. Movies and TV serials, Brinda Adige talks about this conversation, that public discourse that goes on over emphasis on surname, your father's name. What needs to change?
Most of all these cases which require removal of father's name from the birth certificates or whatsoever emanate only because of the mistakes of the concerned registrars. The laws are in favor of the child. Now, the laws are in favor of the mother, but it's also important that the executing authority, that is the registrars, they need to be made aware of these laws. So immediately when an application is made to them, when an application is made to these registrars, it's important that they recognize these laws and to, give validity to those applications and then act in that regard. So without changing that, you will have cases coming to courts all over and over again. That's it.
Yes, perhaps the officials there who are sitting there processing such applications need to be educated as well. Pawan Shyam and Brinda Adige, thanks very much for speaking to us. The fact that we are having this conversation is at least a step forward in shattering that patriarchal mindset. Thanks very much, Brinda Adige and Pawan Shyam, for speaking to us this afternoon. We are stopping for a short break. Lots more on the other side. Stay with us.